Journey of I Am as a film started off even before it was completely ready. I remember that in 2009, mid 2009 is when we started shooting for I Am, and by the end of 2009 already we were traveling, even before we had completed shooting all the 4 stories. We went to New York, the Mayak Film Festival, where we screened I Am Omar. And apart from it, I remember traveling to different universities like Cornell University and Michigan University, where we showed the other stories as work in progress. So the journey of I Am as a film, even before it was ready, started globally, before it started in India. Like most of our films, even that happened with my brother Nikhil. I think the first festival screening happened outside India in San Francisco. Similarly, I Am, after the release and before the release, has been traveling to various film festivals and other screenings. We traveled to New York and opened at the Engendered Film Festival, New York. After that, we went to the Vancouver International Film Festival, Hamburg Queer International Film Festival, to Florence, to Berlin, to Australia, to different cities in Australia like Sydney, Melbourne, Adelaide and Auckland in New Zealand. Then we had a special screening in Nepal, we had a special screening in Sri Lanka, and it's been just traveling from country to country where what is exciting is when you screen a film like this, which is so diverse, which has so many different stories, and you see how people react, how people react to it as an Indian film and as a film that is portraying stories which suddenly they realize it's not just an Indian story they are seeing, but a story that they can relate to in their personal lives, find correlation. Apart from traveling abroad with the film, which has been extremely enriching, because not only is one connecting to an audience, one is slowly discovering a market which was not really known to us. We had not explored the market, interested in new Indian cinema, and they're not yet exposed. And with this travel, we're slowly exploring the possibilities of distributing the films in other countries. The film is getting released in Germany, in France, in Portugal. It was released in Singapore, apart from Australia and New Zealand. And I think this whole journey is also a learning process for us as filmmakers, distributors, producers, that we find an entire different way of distributing our films and discovering a new audience for the film. Apart from traveling overseas, what's also been extremely important is traveling with the film within India, to smaller cities, smaller towns where exhibitors constantly tell us that there is no audience for this kind of cinema, where they say that they don't release these films. And suddenly with film festivals like the Jagaran film festivals, one is taking the films to smaller cities like Meerut, Kanpur, Jamshedpur, Agra, and when one is going there and seeing the kind of interaction one has with the audience there, the huge interest, one realizes that actually there is a huge potential audience in the smaller metros of India, where people are interested. They want to know what's happening in the bigger cities, what kind of new films are coming up. Actually, maybe much more interested than people in the larger metros. But again, what becomes a problem for them is the ticket pricing and the exhibition system, where the films are not even available to them. So I think it's very important, again one is realizing through this travel, is to figure out a way where one can tap this audience, which is a huge audience, and discover their world for this kind of cinema which we have not yet explored. I Am a film which has been made with the help of 400 volunteers, co-owners who have financed it and worked voluntarily for the film. Has not been a process which has been a passive support. It's not that they are sleeping partners for the film I Am. I think what is interesting is how everyone who's been connected with the film has been also actively participating in trying to help in the release, in the distribution of the film. For example, Sonju, who is a co-producer from Germany, has taken up the initiative of distributing the DVDs and organizing organizing special screenings all over Germany for the film. Similarly, it was through Facebook that we released the film in Singapore, in Australia, in New Zealand. There are lots of co-producers and co-owners within India, like Rajesh Jain from Delhi, who organized special screenings in Delhi, and others who've been doing similar things in other smaller cities, who have been actively involved in trying to see how we can take the film beyond the traditional sources to a larger audience. Our co-producer from Kenya, Sandhya Suri, also made this whole effort of ordering a huge consignment of DVDs, which she bought, and she's distributing it in Kenya. So I think this kind of active participation with co-owners, co-producers will in the long run create a much larger world for our kind of films. I think this could be an important road for independent filmmakers, where you start interacting with your audience, where you start interacting with your viewers directly, and you find your audience, and you start even selling your film to them directly, not only as DVDs, but marketing the film, where it's getting shown, in which theaters it's getting shown, according to the audience map that you create for yourself. I know it's perhaps not the ideal way for filmmakers, because you end up spending so much time just trying to discover your audience and trying to market your film, which perhaps is also the time which you'd rather spend creating your product. But in a world which is increasingly driven by market economy, where everything is defined by where is your buyer, I think perhaps finding people who are interested in what you want to do also will slowly create faith in the bigger market for you and your product, and can be a very, very, it actually gives you a lot of creative space, which is at the end of the day what you value most. I think getting the award as the best director in the Jagaran Film Festival has been very, very, very precious for different reasons. One, it's my first award as a director in India for the film, and that's precious. And coming from Jagaran also makes it precious, because Jagaran is a very popular in the northern belt, and getting an award from this kind of a daily for a film like I Am is very precious, because you're constantly told that it's an elitist film which is for a niche audience, and for me it is much more precious that this award comes from Dainik Jagaran, which is not a niche newspaper, which is not a niche festival. It's a festival for the people, which is taking to the grassroots, taking it to the small towns, and getting it from there. It gives you faith, gives you hope that actually your film is meant for a much larger audience. We are working on a couple of projects right now, a couple of scripts that I'm working on. One is a film called Shab, which hopefully is my next film, and another is a film called Chauranga, which we are producing and which will be directed by Vikas Mishra. And for both these films, I think what we as a company are also looking at is partly crowdsourcing, because the entire experience of crowdsourcing and crowdfunding has been so enriching that the kind of support we have got from people, I think we want it as a long-term relationship, not just a relationship that we had in one film and it's over and done with. I think it's a relationship that's going to grow from film to film, and as a company I think we will also grow with the help of people who love and support our kind of films.